It was around the time when I was 18 or 19, right at the start of my college years, that I experienced one of the scariest things that still gives me chills when I think about it. Honestly, my whole first year was a disaster. College was nothing like I'd imagined, and it just seemed like one thing after another. But this was something else entirely. To give you a picture of where it all went down, I lived in a suite building attached to a parking garage. The garage was not huge, but it had about 4 or 5 levels, and the top level was the ground level. The suites were about a 5-minute walk from the entrance of the building, down a dimly lit sidewalk. Right at the edge of the sidewalk, there was this little room with windows that housed the elevator. It was strange, but oddly normal for our campus. Most of the time, I hated being on campus. There were a lot of reasons for that, but let's just say I didn't feel comfortable there. I much preferred spending time off campus at my boyfriend's house, a short drive away in a neighboring town. His place was my escape from the campus chaos. I'd stay there whenever I could, just to get away from the noise of school and the overwhelming feeling of being out of place. But I still had early morning classes, and one night in particular, I had to head back to campus after spending time at his place. I got back around 2 a.m., exhausted and half asleep. When I pulled into the parking garage, I immediately noticed it was unusually full. Normally, I could park near the building, but on this night, I had to park all the way at the end of the garage, closer to the ramp leading to the lower levels. I hate parking garages. The narrow concrete walls, the echo of footsteps, the dim lighting, it all creeps me out. So, I always made sure to park at the very top, where I could get out as quickly as possible. This time though, I didn't feel like it was a big deal. It was late, but everything felt relatively normal. I didn't even call my boyfriend or my sister, which was usually my go-to if I was feeling even a little spooked. But tonight, it seemed fine, until it wasn't. I started walking towards the sidewalk to head into the building when I noticed something strange. There was someone in the little room with the elevator. The room had windows, so you could always see if someone was in there waiting for the elevator. But this person wasn't in front of the elevator. They were behind the wall. At first, I thought it was just some random person hanging out. But then, they stepped out from behind the wall. He wasn't coming from the elevator. I would have seen the doors open. He was just there. I didn't get a good look at him at first, but I could tell he was a middle-aged man. Not the typical student age. This was odd because the building was mostly freshmen and sophomores. The more I walked, the more I felt uneasy, but I tried to brush it off. But as I neared the sidewalk, about 20 feet away from that little elevator room, he stepped out and started walking behind me. At first, I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe he was just walking to his car, right? I tried to walk faster, hoping to shake the feeling in my gut, but with every step, I noticed that he was walking faster too. He was getting closer. I don't know how I knew, but something told me not to acknowledge him, not to let him know I was paying attention. It was almost like I could feel his eyes on my back, and I realized how badly I needed to act before things escalated. That's when my heart started racing. I wasn't close enough to any of the campus police buttons, those little emergency posts they had along the sidewalk, but I knew the building was just ahead, and I needed to get there fast. Without even thinking, I broke into a sprint. I heard the sound of his footsteps pick up behind me. He was running too. The adrenaline surged through me. My thoughts were a blur. I had no plan, no idea of what to do next, just a primal instinct to get to safety. There were 3 entrances to the building, but I always used the furthest one. My suite was on the far side of the building. But tonight, I couldn't risk that. My brain was screaming at me to take the first entrance, the closest one. I reached the door, swiped my card as quickly as I could, and slammed it shut behind me. I barely even had time to catch my breath before I looked up and saw him right there, on the other side of the glass door. He was staring straight at me. I froze for a second. He didn't move, didn't say anything. Then, without warning, he turned and ran the other direction, disappearing into the darkness. I just stood there for what felt like forever, my heart pounding so loudly in my ears I thought everyone in the building could hear it. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't made it inside that door in time. I didn't stick around to find out. The next morning, I woke up to an email from campus security. It was a warning about a strange man who had been spotted hanging around campus late at night, acting suspiciously. I didn't even have to read the email to know who they were talking about. The thought of him still creeps me. What if I couldn't make to the room quickly? What were his intentions? To this day, I don't walk near that elevator room at night, and I will never forget the look on his face as he stared at me through that door.